Line's good.
Never on.
Whoa.
Hard. Release.
Come on, Brent. Line's good. Got real close. The hair high, right? Try and hit 2/3.
Have they saved it for her? Yes, they have.
Ooh, welcome to Game of Stones, everybody. I am Sean Graham. Scott alongside, as always. Hello, Scott.
Sean, great to be back in the chair. You know, did a lot of soul searching there last week, and you know, I realized that maybe I should just stick to this podcasting game. It's treating me well. So thanks for letting everybody know what I was up to, but I think I will put that aside for the moment.
It's too bad.
I know.
People were excited.
Yeah, and you know, somewhat autobiographical story is always interesting, right? So I really enjoyed the interview with Matthew.
Yeah.
It was great hearing about how the whole gambling side goes and about some of the guardrails that are up there. So yeah, it was very, very interesting.
Yeah, really enjoyed talking with Matthew. I thought that was good. And Scott, that's good information because a lot of people are going to be gambling this week as it's time for the Scotties Tournament of Hearts, my favorite event on the curling calendar, which also means that it's time for the Canada 3000 Jets Go Canadian Airlines Super Scotties preview presented by Woolco. Scott, are you excited for this year's edition?
Yeah, always glad to have those sponsors on board, Sean. It really, you know, helps us really get down into the nitty gritty of the event and make sure that we hit all of our bases.
That's right. So this year it is the same format as last year, 18 teams in the field, round robin of 8 games within the pool play. And then they're going to the championship pool. 4 teams are going through. You will cross over, play those games. And then the modified page playoff system, which I'm still not sure I fully understand. And I am 100% sure, though, I fully do not care for, because it makes Friday night feel not really all that important, or not as important, where you're playing for a spot in the 1-2 game or the 3-4 game, which certainly matters, but not as much as the old Friday night mattered in the format. So ultimately 6 teams will get in. The top teams will get the automatic spot in those Friday games, and the other teams will play in to get those spots. So we go from 6 to 4 into the page, and then a traditional page after that. So Scott, a couple questions off the top. One of our great annual traditions on the show: out of the 18 teams who are there, how many can win?
There's never like a huge number that can win. But when I look at these teams, Sean, there's a lot of good players here. We have shakeups from the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going down the list of teams and thinking about who can win, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, about 6, I'd say. 6 of the 18.
Yeah, which is weird, right? Because this is a really good field. And we talked about it a little bit a couple of weeks ago, that Pool B is really strong. And it's going to be tough for teams to get out. Hell, the defending bronze medalist is in this pool, and I haven't looked at the odds, probably an underdog to make it out of the pool.
Well, as is the defending silver medalist, too.
Right? So that's a really good pool. But when you go down to who can win, the strength of the top 2-3 teams kind of makes you wonder, can one of those teams break through? And obviously we'll talk about each team individually, but a potential caveat to saying how many teams can win and it being a small number this year, that doesn't mean the pool is bad. That just means that the top 2 teams in particular are that good, I think. Everyone else is really good. I really think that the Scotties field, this is not a Briar preview, but is better than the Briar field top to bottom in terms of the competitiveness that we're going to see over the week. And yet maybe the same number of teams going in can win, right? It's one of those, it's an interesting dynamic that the middle bottom of this field, when you look at the end of the week, when you look at its teams who went 2-6, 3-5, they're teams that in another year could make the championship pool. So it's just a product of a really good field this year.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Like you say, we'll go through all the teams, and some of it is with the seeding in the pools. It sort of hurts the teams that don't play as much. But yeah, I mean, you talked a bit with Matthew there about Carrie Anderson's team being the favorite. And like, I think that is pretty obvious to everybody. At the same time, how many in a row can you win? Like, only one of their teams done 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be a pretty amazing feat to do it. But and like we just said, there's a lot of good talent in this field that could come through and upset that number 1 seed. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Before we get into the teams, one other change we have speculated for a while, really since the summer, Scott. Who's going to fill that chair in the TSN booth for
Yes.
this week at least? All that was announced was it's for this week. I'd be shocked if it wasn't for the Briar too. It'd be slightly weird, unless, of course, Joanne Courtney does have a real job that maybe she could only get this 1 week off. But Scott, is going to be Joanne Courtney. We had talked for a while that it would be great if it was a front end player. I just assumed she was tied up with CBC and some sort of contractual something. I never considered that she would have the flexibility to go over to TSN. But Joanne Courtney is going to be there for the week after making her broadcasting debut, or like real debut, last year at the Olympic Games. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think this is a pretty natural fit. Like you say, we wanted a front end player there to sort of balance out Russ and his skips point of view. And Cheryl was great for those 8 years, but having 2 skips in the booth, it definitely doesn't give you as broad a perspective as having a front end player. So I think it's great. You weren't as into her performance at the Olympics. You're a little down on it, I'd say, mostly due to the circumstances and having those plexiglass shields, all that kind of stuff, and making it really tough to integrate into the broadcast team. Not that the CBC broadcasters aren't pros, they are, but that was really tough conditions for everyone. This TSN booth, Vic, always a pro. Russ has gotten a lot better at it. So I think she'll be able to fit in seamlessly and have a lot of fun calling the games this week.
Hopefully. Yeah, my criticism, if it even was criticism of last year, it really wasn't just of Joanne Courtney. It was really of the whole presentation, that CBC did not put them in a position to succeed. And someone like Mike Harris, I think, could handle that a little better because he's been at these events in that role so many times. But when it's 3 a.m. and you're sitting in a booth in Toronto watching it on TV, not being able to really interact with the people you're calling the game with, that's just such a difficult scenario, right? To get the energy and enthusiasm that we might be seeing in the pictures. It's hard to transmit that when, again, it's the middle of the night and you're in a dark booth in Toronto sitting by yourself. So I think being there in person will really help. Having Vic in particular is so good at setting people up. And again, not that the CBC folks aren't, but Vic is the best at it. So he's really going to put her in positions to succeed. So I'm excited for this. I think it's a really good addition. And again, something I didn't think was possible because I just assumed she was going to be part of the CBC stuff moving forward. So this will be fun to see, get a new voice in there.
Absolutely. And a new voice and a front end voice, and excited for that.
Yeah. So as we are wont to do on these previews, we're going to go pool by pool. We said that pool number B is the strongest pool. So let's go through that one first, Scott, and start with the top ranked team in the pool is Rachel Homan from Ontario. 9th appearance in the Scotties for Rachel Homan. 10th appearance in the Scotties for Emma Miskew. Of course, Rachel Homan did not play last year after the Olympic Games, or during the Olympic Games. The Scotties and the Olympics overlapped there last year. Fun fact about Rachel Homan, the last 4 times that she has played in the Scotties, she has played in the gold medal match, going 1-3 in those games. She has lost 3 consecutive gold medal games on the season. 39-9 for this team, scoring 8.6 points, giving up 5.95, which is weird that they've been doing so well, because everything I've seen, the chatter, if you will, has been very negative about them, even from us occasionally, where the communication hasn't seemed seamless to this point. But when you've played 48 games and you've won 39 of them, not much to sneeze at.
No, definitely. This is also like a new look team, right? So Emma's trying to play that new position, as you said, and they're coming together nicely. Sometimes you think there might be a bit of miscommunication between Tracy and Rachel, sort of in the style of play, but like you say, they've dealt with all of that and have managed to park it. You said scoring 8 point something points a game, right? That's really really good. That's going to be very very important for them to score in this field, especially in the pool that they're in. Being able to get those multiple points, convert those hammers, that's going to be the key for this team. Something else to look for is the sweeping. Emma Miskew obviously is in terrific shape and is a great sweeper. Just the communication of that between them and Tracy, it has been good this year, but we'll see if there's any small hiccups. I don't anticipate any. So this is a team that, like you said, if Rachel Homan's playing, she's usually in the finals. So that would not surprise me to see her in that game at the end of the week.
Yeah. One other thing that I'm curious to see now with Tracy there calling the game is we've been critical in the past of maybe sometimes they give too much respect to their opponents.
Mm-hmm.
And they let people hang around sometimes when in reality they're just so much better that they could just kill them by the sixth end if they really wanted to. But they play a more defensive style. And if you look at the points per game in the difference, their average margin of victory, or sorry, their average point differential, I should say, is roughly the same as Jennifer Jones's. And we'll talk about Jennifer Jones next. But Jennifer Jones is scoring 3/4 of a point more per game, and therefore giving up that as well. But it just speaks to Jennifer Jones is more willing to take those chances, rocks in play, whereas this team, they get up and just let's keep it empty. Like, let's not worry about it, which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But there are times where it feels like you can just win the game right now. Right? And they're choosing to play the more defensive route, which leads openings for if there's a pick that goes wrong or something crazy happens. Whereas again, they're just better than their opponent. They can just go win.
That's it. Just go and win. Don't let them hang around. Put your foot on the neck, so to speak, and just get the job done.
Yeah. So I mentioned Jennifer Jones. She is the second-ranked team in this field out of Manitoba, of course, playing with Mackenzie Zacharias. And that team, including Carly Burgess, who is a wonderful player out of Nova Scotia, who came to Manitoba to join that team. So this really is kind of a hodgepodge of a team in the total lineage of it, but a wonderful team at that. Jennifer Jones making her 17th appearance, her last of her 6th championships at this event came in 2018. Also in British Columbia, out in Penticton. So that could be a thing. She did not play last year, of course, at the Olympic Games, where she went 5-4 on the season, 53-27. Scott, their force efficiency is 0.52, steal efficiency of 0.32. So pretty good when they don't have the hammer. So that's what you like to see on a team. I think I haven't paid too much attention to know exactly what the lineup is going to be, but presumably they've figured out exactly what they want the lineup to be. And for as much as Jennifer Jones might not be a sure thing in the same way she was a decade ago, I'm not willing to count out Jennifer Jones ever, I think.
No, especially with the great shot making that she's brought on board. What we've seen from Team Zacharias in the last couple of years in their appearances is that they have all the skill in the world, and it's just about executing the strategy, like executing what strategy you want at the end of a week, right? So the way they're going to play is that Carly Burgess is sticking at third. That's the way they've played all year. Mackenzie has thrown second rocks and then gone into the house to hold the broom for Jennifer. The way that it's listed in the media guide is that Mackenzie, Emily Zacharias, and Lauren Lenentine are all listed as front end. So I think what's really cool about this is that they're going to be able to get everybody into the lineup throughout the week. There might even be some games where Jennifer takes a seat. No disrespect to the other teams in the pool, but there are some games where they can probably win without her and maybe save her a little bit of stress on the body. It's a long week. It's going to be really taxing. And I think this team is really well set up, Sean, to make a huge push. And this will really set up that Zacharias foursome for the future. All this experience that they're gaining here with Jen Jones.
Yeah, just sit at the foot of Jennifer Jones and learn about everything. And I know that's what the season so far has been, and really what the point of this team is. And they've had success for sure, and it'll be fun to see them here this week. So let's move on to the next team. Wild card 2, Casey Scheidegger. I was surprised, Scott. This is only Casey's third appearance. I feel like she's been around long enough and in enough big events that she's played in more than 2 Scotties before this.
Well, her kind of breakout, right, was the trials in 2018.
Yeah.
When her team sort of burst onto the national scene there and had a lot of really great games, a pretty strong week for them overall, including a really good game against eventual champions Rachel Homan. But it is a bit strange to think that they haven't played in that many Scotties. That it is to say, like, Alberta is quite a tough province historically to get out of. So I really like, Sean, with this team, the addition of Kate Hogan at third. I think she brings a lot of ability to that third position. Not that Carrie-Anne McTaggart didn't have ability, but I think it's just like a slight upgrade with Kate Hogan, and they'll be able to get out of any trouble that they might get into.
Also has Casey's sister Jessie on the team, Taylor McDonald at lead. Christy Moore is there because Jessie is pregnant. And of course, this was a major issue. They are the 6th ranked team in this field. So the initial pregnancy maternity rules did not apply to them. Christy Moore is not a bad player by any means. She's represented Alberta before. She knows what she's doing. So it's a really good replacement, but it did blow up the maternity rules here with Team Scheidegger. They're 41-21 on the season. What I like about them is that if you look at the Alberta Scotties, they won games in very different ways. They won a game 11-9, 6-3, and then combined, they beat Selena Sturmey in 2 games, 18-5. So high scoring close game, low scoring close games, and then a couple blowouts. Like, they won games in a variety of ways. So that's a good thing, I think, in terms of your flexibility as a game caller. You're going to have to throw a lot of different shots given those scores. So that, I think, bodes well for them.
Yeah, we'll see if they can park that, what I assume is pretty devastating loss in the Alberta final, just like thinking, okay, we've made it and there's no shot here, and then just be beaten by this crazy good shot. In some ways that's easier, right, than if you make a mistake and let your opponent off the hook. So we'll see how they rebound from that, but they had a great week in Alberta, and hopefully we'll carry it over to the Scotties in Kamloops.
Now, another team coming off a tough finals loss is wildcard number 3, featuring Megan Walter. Curling Canada is calling this team Walter, whereas in the Manitoba playdowns, it was Team Ackland. But whatever you want to call it, they're good. Megan Walter throwing 4 stones, Abby Ackland the 3rd stones, joined by Sarah Oliver and Mackenzie Elias as the front end. They're all making their Scotties debut, but Sarah Oliver and Megan Walter are 2019 World Mixed Curling Championship gold medalists. So they do have that experience behind them. On the season, 40-26. That includes, of course, the great victory against Caitlin Laws in the Manitoba semis, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. Potentially a point of concern for this team, Scott, giving up 7 points a game so far this season. That is more than the other top teams in the field. So potentially a point of concern. And the fact that they're all rookies, there's a learning curve at this event, is what we've seen in the past. So potentially not the highest expectations externally, but it is a very good team.
Yeah, they are quite a good team, Sean. Maybe expectations would be similar to that Beth Peterson rink from 2020. Yeah, sort of coming in as the 3rd wild card, getting a chance to get some national experience under your belt. And I'm sure they're going to be able to knock off a few teams, and people best not take them lightly.
No, another team you don't want to take lightly, New Brunswick, the defending bronze medalist. You just talked about getting national experience under your belt. This team has a whole bunch of it, and they put it to great use last season. This is Andrea Kelly's 11th appearance at the Scotties. Of course, Sylvie Quinlan is the third, but this year they brought on Jill Brothers to play second. This is her 6th appearance. She, of course, has skipped out of Nova Scotia for plenty of years. And then just for fun, they got Heather Smith as the alternate in their effort to have all Nova Scotia skips with them on this Scotties appearance. So far in the season, they are 32-11, a 0.54 force efficiency and a 0.41 steal efficiency. So another team that it's been tough to get multiples against on the season. Scott, do you think they can replicate that amazing run from last season?
Well, they've got all the tools, Sean, and they haven't won any events this year except for that New Brunswick Scotties. But it does seem like they've been able to qualify in every event. So always getting near the top of the table, being able to stay in it, win some games, just not quite able to pull it over the finish line. So yeah, I'd expect them to be really strong this year. We'll see if the addition of Jill Brothers is for the better or not. Jill Babin, a good player in her own right,
For sure.
and so yeah, I of course this team they were the number one team in the pool, so they're going to have a target on their back this year that they probably didn't in years past. So we'll see how they deal with that.
Yeah, and you wonder if they can use some of that experience that they have over some of the other teams potentially to their favor. But this will be a fun team to see, again, to see if they can capitalize or recreate what was a really wonderful run last year. So let's move on to another team that had a wonderful run last year. That's the Northwest Territory, skipped by Carrie Galusha, making her 16th and hopefully not final appearance at the Scotties. 6-4 last year, getting into that championship pool. The lineup is the exact same. They're 25-13 on the season. Scott, the past two Scotties, 2021, 2022, they have beat Team Ontario. So skipped by Rachel Holman in 21 in the bubble. And then last year, Emma Miskew skipping that team. And on this season, just this season, they have beat Andrea Kelly, Abby Ackland, Kayla Skrillick, Laurie St. George, and Clancy Grandy, all in this field. And I know this won't be a surprise to you, but they did beat Madeline Dupont as well. So they have some really good wins under their belt this year, as they have put the emphasis on traveling over the past few seasons. Mm-hmm. So they're coming in very strong. Joanne Rizzo knows what she's doing, throwing the final stone. Sarah Colton has tons of experience now. Her first Scotties appearance was back in 2014. Doesn't feel like she's been around that long. Like it somehow it feels like Casey Scheidegger has been around longer than Sarah Colton, but no, in terms of Scotties appearances. So it's a team that is just bursting with experience, and they can beat probably everyone here in their pool because they have before.
They've got the talent, Sean. It's just about putting it all together for a full week. The last couple of years, they've been in that 3-4, 4-3 in their pool, and just haven't been able to eke it out. They made it to a tiebreaker last year, I believe,
and they got it. They got through, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, they're always like right on that bubble of advancing or not. Like you say, they're capable of beating anybody. And it's just about putting it together at the right time and not having those sort of quote unquote bad losses, right? You have to beat everybody that you're ahead of in this pool if you want to get through.
Yeah, that's going to be the key for them, is to not have those bad games, and in particular not have a bad end or two where the other team cracks a 3 or 4 kind of out of nowhere. Yeah. That's kind of where they're going to have to be careful here. But certainly, as they demonstrated, they are capable of making it through. I think if you gave Carrie Galusha truth serum, she'd rather be in the other pool, but you could probably say that for all the teams in this pool. So
I think so, yeah.
So let's move on to Newfoundland and Labrador. Stacey Curtis making her 6th appearance, last time in 2018. Apparently, she only qualifies for the Scotties when she wants to travel as far away from Newfoundland as possible. She only does the BC ones. She went 4-3 in Penticton. Family affair here on this team. Erica Curtis playing third. Julie Hines, who is also Stacy's sister, playing second. And then it's Camille Burt, the lead. She is making her debut at a Scotties, but the others have all played before. They did qualify for the playoffs at the Stu Sells Halifax event earlier this season. That was a pretty good field. They beat Heather Strong in the Newfoundland final, but otherwise not too many appearances on tour. Probably low expectations externally for this team, but I would say for them, they should be aiming for the championship pool if they can. It'll take a couple upsets, but again, a team that's going to be ranked a little bit lower. But if you go in and say, well, we're just going to beat them because we're going to beat them, like, no, you're going to have to make some shots to beat them.
Yeah, you're definitely going to need to make some shots. And what I think this team should try and do, Sean, is just really, really mix it up. Put a lot of rocks in play, hope for some mistakes from the other team, and hope that you can capitalize on those mistakes. I think that's going to be their easiest path out of this really, really tough pool.
Call that the reverse Jamie Murphy.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Good strategy.
All right. And then the team, this is where the pool kind of goes off the rails in terms of competitiveness or balance between the two. It's Northern Ontario. Krista McCarville is the 8th ranked team in this pool. This is the defending silver medalist, went 8-4 last year, 10th appearance for Krista McCarville. Bit of a change. I think this is a change. Sarah Potts is calling the line on Krista's shots. Mm-hmm. Overall this season, it's not a super impressive record, only 22-17 on the season. They missed the playoffs at the 2 slams they played in, the Tier 2 and the National. They also, though, played in the Thunder Bay Major League, where they finished second there. That's over from October through January. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good league if you look at some of the teams who are there, a weekly draw. So not bad there, but an interesting stat for them on the season, Scott, 14-3 when they start with the hammer. So that last stone draw before the game, going to be very, very important for this team. It's important for everybody, but that's a number that kind of jumps off the page when you look at it.
Yeah, that's interesting, Sean. I hadn't put those numbers together. So yeah, but Sean, this team, like you say, this is the second lowest ranked team in the pool, and they were the silver medalists last year and had a chance to win. So this is going to be a really tough pool. They've got a lot of good teams ahead of them that, you know, they're not going to have many walkovers in this pool. So if they're going to earn it, they're going to earn it in full this week. Yeah. But I expect them to be there at the end of the week. I will not bet against Krista McCarville until she shows me otherwise.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about that record of 22-17, and this is something we talked about with Chelsea Carey forever, that Chelsea Carey, it really felt like her whole schedule and her training was based on peaking for the Scotties.
Yeah.
And Chris has been interviewed a few times over the past few weeks. That really seems what their focus is as well. That, yes, it's nice to win in October, right? Everyone would rather win than lose, but their real focus, their goal is having a season designed specifically to peak at this time of year. That's not to say that other teams don't want to peak at this time of year, but when you're looking at the teams that play in the slams and the other events where there's a lot of money at stake, the Scotties and the national championship, it's not the sole goal, that there's other goals along the way. No. Whereas for this team, it's really all focused towards this event.
Yeah, absolutely.
And rounding out the teams in Pool B, a team that we hope has a wonderful, wonderful time in Kelowna, have a lot of fun. I think there's some good restaurants, really embrace it. From the Yukon, it's Haley Burney making her 4th appearance at the Scotties. She is 1-21 overall in her appearances. Bit of a lineup change from last year. Chelsea Jarvis is going to be playing third. She last appeared at the Scotties in 2020. This is her 4th appearance overall. Carrie Campbell and Kimberly Tour are the front end. That is the same as last season. Scott, she's won a game at a Scotties before. You think she can get another one this year?
This is a really tough, a tough ask in this pool, given how deep it is. Maybe you look at that game against Newfoundland as your opportunity,
Yeah.
but no, it's going to be tough. But you know what? Good on them. They're coming down for the event. Everybody gets that chance to represent their province or territory, and we'll get a look at them on TV, I'm sure, in the cut-ins.
Yeah, and interestingly, the first game for them is that game against Stacey Curtis.
Okay, so we'll see who figures out the ice the fastest.
Yeah, and in draw 4 too. So they don't play in the initial draw. So their bye that they get is draw 2. So they don't actually start until Sunday.
I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be an advantage when you're a team that doesn't play as much. You kind of want to get out there and get playing.
Yeah, because their practice will be Thursday. They might have practice ice Friday as well, but then you're gone, right? Like obviously they'll go into the arena and they'll try and map the ice as best as they can. But to go into that game, a game that you think, oh, maybe this is a chance, a team that's already played on the ice, you haven't yet. A bit of a break, a bad break potentially on the schedule there for Haley Burney. But yeah, hopefully they have a wonderful week there in Kelowna. So that is Pool B. Scott, let's move over to Pool A. We'll do the same thing. We'll go by the rankings and how the pools were determined. So, unsurprisingly, the top-ranked team in Pool A is Team Canada, Carrie Anderson, going for their 4th consecutive Scotties championship. They went 11-1 last season. They are 35-13 on the season, 9.17 points per game, 5.8 points against. They are crushing people when they win. But this is more than just the 2023 Scotties. This is a chance for them to tie Colleen Jones, that great Colleen Jones squad, for the record of 4 consecutive Scotties championships. They've already tied Vera Pezzer and Jennifer Jones with 3 straight. This is the chance now to tie the all-time record. Scott, you think they can do it?
They've got to be the favorites, Sean. I said I wouldn't bet against Krista McCarville. Why would I bet against Carrie Anderson winning another Scotties? Their team has been pretty dominant the last 3 years, 3 of 4. Anyway, they're just really, really, really good, and I'd be dumb if I didn't pick them to win, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. They're good.
All right. Yeah, they're great. There really is not much else you could say. That I think if they were to do this, it's going to be hard to put it in perspective, right? So it's impossible to compare the 3 straight that they won to Vera Pezzer's 3 straight. It is.
Yeah.
It's a totally different era. Maybe a little bit to Jennifer Jones's, but the 4 straight with Colleen Jones's 4 straight, it's going to be really hard because they're playing in an era where there's more quote unquote professional teams and they're doing this. Whereas in Colleen Jones's era wasn't quite that professionalization that we see. And this is not to disparage the teams that Colleen Jones had to go through or what Colleen Jones achieved, because within the context of the time, that was a remarkable achievement. Is it harder now than it was? I don't know, because Carrie Anderson is a professional team as well. So I don't know. Relative to their competition, is one better than the other? I don't know. It'll be a fun summer conversation and a fun episode if she wins. So maybe I'm rooting for that only for the content.
Yeah, no, for sure. If I think back to that Colleen Jones run, I think she beat Kathy Cunningham one year, the Suzanne Burt. I think they beat them in the semifinals. So, but like you think of the teams of that era, like Allison Goring.
Yeah.
And
Kelly Law, she beat one year.
Kelly Law. Yeah. So yeah, some really good teams, but you're right. Not the caliber top to bottom of the fields that we get today. So yeah, I look forward to that episode and thinking more about it.
All right, so let's move on then to the second ranked team in the pool. It is Wild Card 1, skipped by Caitlin Laws. They are 47-20 on the season, but the big news here is that Selena Negevin is out for this event. She is on the verge of giving birth, so she is not going to play. Laura Walker is in to the lineup. Of course, the maternity rules were front and center with this team as well. Somewhat interestingly enough, I believe Jocelyn Peterman has also announced that she is pregnant. So a lot of babies running around this team. Between Caitlin Laws just gave birth, Laura Walker's youngest, I believe, is 6 months old. Jocelyn's pregnant, Selena's pregnant. This is like a real young family team here.
Yeah, the baby boom of the first year of a quad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, we'll see how everybody handles it. Laura Walker is a great player, as we all know. I don't think she'll have any problems fitting in on this team. Another thing neat about this team is Lisa Weigel is their coaching.
Yep.
Coaching the team. Obviously, Lisa played with Caitlin and Jocelyn last year a bit with Jennifer Jones' team. So nice to see them to see her on board with this team, and she'll be a great asset for them on the bench and helping to map the ice and chart the rocks.
Yeah, and just one more note on the maternity stuff. Curling Canada has reversed course, and Selena Negovin will be allowed in the players area and on the bench, where previously it was said that she would not be allowed in those areas as a non-active competitor or something. So again, cooler heads eventually prevailed at Curling Canada with that one. And Scott, one interesting note here, we talked about it in the summer, Caitlin Laws going back to skipping after a very accomplished junior career as skip. Do you know the last time she skipped in a national championship?
Well,
don't look at it. Don't. I see your eyes going to your screen. Don't look at it. Like, play the game fairly.
Yeah, I was just looking to see how old she is.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say 2009.
You are correct, sir.
Really?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. 2009, she skipped the Canadian champion junior team. Do you know who she beat in the gold medal game in 2009?
Yeah, I think she beat Rachel Homan.
She did beat Rachel Homan 7-4 in that final. She would go on to lose the World Junior Curling final in a game 8-4 against...
Is it Anna Hasselberg?
It's not.
Oh,
so you're on such a good run.
Yeah.
She lost that game to Eve Muirhead.
Muirhead. That would have been my second guess. Oh,
yeah.
Geez.
So first time in 14 years that Caitlin will be skipping at the national championship or at a national championship. So that'll be kind of cool to see. We really haven't seen any of the things that we might have been concerned about, any rust on the skipping game for Caitlin in the games that we've seen this year. So I wouldn't expect that to come up at all this year or this week.
No, not at all. No.
All right, well, let's move on then to British Columbia. Clancy Grandy coming out of the West Coast. Of course, she's played out of Alberta for a very long time. Her first full appearance, she was an alternate in 2021 with Tracy Fleury's team that was skipped that year by Chelsea Carey. So she's been in this environment, but that was the bubble. So it wasn't a full Scotties experience for Clancy Grandy that year. She did play in the trials in 2017 with Ali Flaxey. She was the third on that team. So she does have some experience being in these environments. Debuts for everybody else on this roster. They've played a whole bunch this year. They are 52-27. Their final event was not the Scotties in British Columbia. They actually went over to Bern, Switzerland, played in the Bernese Ladies Cup. They lost the semifinal there to Isabella Rana the weekend of January 26th to the 29th. So they got out of the country and are now back here playing at the Scotties. Young team, inexperienced team at this level, but again, a team that we know they can make shots. It's just a question of can they do it over the course of 9 days.
Yeah, it's definitely the unknown of this team. Like you said, they've been playing so much this year. They've accumulated so many points. They're like they're eighth, I think, in the CTRS standings for this year. So they've gone out, they've spieled, they've played a lot of events, obviously had an impressive showing in the BC final, beating Corinne Brown in that sort of weird back and forth game with lots of big ends. So I think what we can hope for from this team is that they're going to mix it up. They're going to play fun curling, play loose out there, right? When your team mostly making your debut, you don't really have much to lose. So let's hope that's what we see and we get some fun games.
That would be fun. I would fully support that situation if that were to take place. And another fun team that I think Scott will mix it up as well. That is Alberta. Kayla Skrlik coming in. They're making their debut, or excuse me, she is making her debut here. She did skip Alberta at the 2018 Canadian Juniors, went 7-3 there. Also a gold medalist at the 2014 Arctic Winter Games, representing Northern Alberta. There is some experience on this team. Brittany Tran playing third. This is her third appearance at the Scotties. Jerry Lynn Ramsey from Scott's favorite team of all time, the 2010 PEI team, is here. And Ashton Skrlik is the lead, making her debut. They went undefeated at the Alberta Scotties. That incredible shot to win the final 32-19 over the course of the season. And this is really the same thing as Clancy Grandy's team. Young team, little more experience with Brittany Tran there and Jerry Lynn Ramsey. But overall, for Kayla, it's going to be getting her feet wet. Can she adapt to this new environment? And how quickly can she adapt to it? Because as we saw in the Alberta final, she's got all the shots.
Yeah, and she's got like that confidence, I think, in all the shots too. We talked about it at the time. It was like, what shot? Like, I didn't think that was there. And she's like, oh, let's just do this for the win. And boom, okay, sure, let's do it. So yeah, this is going to be another instance of this team wanting to go and play loose. I don't think there's super high expectations. The pool itself is not as strong as Pool B. So there's a better opportunity, I think, to get into that championship pool. And I think that should be the goal for this week.
Yeah, and that'd be a great accomplishment for them if they were able to do that. As would a great accomplishment for the next team, which I actually missed. They were actually ranked ahead of Alberta. My apologies to Nova Scotia and Christina Black, making her second consecutive appearance, fifth overall. Second, though, as a skip, went 5-4 last year in this event. She is joined by Jennifer Baxter, who was there last year as well, Carly Everest, and Shelly Barker. So it's the same lineup as last season that went 5-4. Scott, do you think they can improve on that record this week?
I do, Sean. I do think they can improve on that. They're very talented. They've had a great year this year, curling. Did you mention that? 34-7.
It's pretty good.
Year. It's good when you make more wins than losses. That's math. Analytics. Yeah. Scoring almost 10 or over 10.5 points a game. That's pretty good. And if you can bring some of that juice in to this event, I think you'll be great. You've also got, that experience of having done it together, at least last year. So I think this team should be favored to make it out of the pool and into the championship pool play.
Yeah, I think with the experience, as you say, that does give them a bit of a leg up on some of the other teams in this pool. But one of the teams it does not give them a leg up on, because they have far less experience than Prince Edward Island and Suzanne Burt, making her 14th appearance. Bit of a change, though. As you said a couple weeks ago, Scott, Marie Christensen is calling the game. Suzanne Burt is going to throw last still. So I was curious if over the course of the season, this has led to any changes. Statistically, they're still scoring a bunch, 8.5 points a game, only giving up 5.2 points per game. They're 24-10 on the season, which is really good. But typically, Suzanne Burt would be higher, I think, in both categories. So a bit of a calming down of the rocks in play here potentially for Suzanne Burt, or for Team PI with Marie Christensen calling the game, potentially a little more conservative in her approach than Suzanne was, which is unfortunate from a viewer perspective. But if it's going to lead to wins, they're not going to complain.
No, exactly. Whatever is going to get them the wins, that's what's important to this team. And they've got all the tools in their tool chest. So I'm really excited to see them play. Obviously, it'll be different watching Suzanne Burt sweep, but might take some getting used to. But she's definitely able to do it, and they've had a pretty good year so far.
Yeah, it's only the first 4 rocks. Nobody cares about the front end stones.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's move on to a wonderful story out of Saskatchewan. Robin Silvernagle back in the Scotties for the first time since 2019, where she won a bronze medal. This team was put together last minute, featuring Kelly Schaefer, Sherry Just, and Cara Thivano. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Cara's third appearance. Sherry Just is making her debut at the Scotties. Kelly Schaefer also making her debut at the Scotties, but maybe a familiar name to some of you out there because she is a 2006 and 2010 Olympian and a 2010 world silver medalist. And I know what you're saying. Wait, how could that be possible if she's never played in the Scotties? It's because she did that with Scotland and with Rona Martin in 2006 at the Olympics, and the rest with Eve Muirhead. So a lot of experience for Kelly Schaefer, obviously now based in Canada, playing with Robin Silvernagle. The story has been told that Robin had a baby who spent time in the hospital. It was a very difficult time for her and her family. Fortunately, everyone is doing well now. There's a great photo of her after that Saskatchewan final holding her son, just both of them smiling. Wonderful photo to see after what was a very challenging time for them. And it's really cool to see her back in the Scotties. And I think the crowd will be very supportive of her out there in Kelowna. But from a pure curling perspective, it's really hard to throw a team together in short order and be successful. And they obviously did that in Saskatchewan, but whether they can continue it in a field of this caliber, I don't know. But Scott, what do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Sean, you said they were playing in Kelowna, but it's Kamloops. It's okay.
Excuse me.
Hard just a distinction to make. They start against Christina Black in Nova Scotia, and I think that game's going to be pretty key for them, getting off on the right foot, being able to get some momentum building. Like you say, they haven't played all that much together, so that'll be important. One of the cool things about the Kelly Schaefer story is that she was in Canada for the World Championships, I think in 2010, after the Olympics, and met her husband there. I think she said something like, "Oh, at least that guy's really cute" or something to her teammates, right? And so, anyway, there's somebody else that tells that story better than me. You can find it online, but anyway, it's really cool.
Like Kelly Schaefer, yeah.
Probably tells it better than me. I think it was. I think I read it in like it was a Canadian Press Report or something.
Okay,
like
cool.
Greg Strong or Ted. So yeah, check it out. But yeah, the beginning is going to be important for them.
Yeah, no question. You want to get off to a good start. Another team that's going to need a good start is Quebec. Laurie Saint Georges making her return to the Scotties. Last year went 3-5, missed the playoff pool or the qualification pool, the championship pool. That's what it's called. She did make the championship pool in 2021, but ended up at a 500 record. Didn't have a great 4 games in that championship pool. Bit of a lineup change for this team. Alana Rutledge is on board. Her last time at a Scotties was 2020, playing with Noémie Verreau. And Kelly Madaw is on board playing lead. If you're thinking that name sounds familiar, yeah, it really does. She is, of course, the daughter of Wayne and Sherry Madaw, who combined have, I believe, 67 Scotties and Brier appearances, roughly. So that is a change. They have not had the greatest season so far, 12-15. The only playoffs that they have made other than the Quebec Scotties was at an event in August. So not great so far out on tour in the events that they've played in. But as we've seen, she can get hot. The team can get hot, go on a nice run. So don't sleep on them.
Yeah, definitely not. And one thing we know is that they're going to bring a lot of energy and a lot of fun to the event there. So I think they could get out of the pool, but that's about where I'd place their ceiling.
And finally, it is Nunavut. Bridget McPhail, 0-8 last season. It is the exact same lineup top to bottom. They did play in some East Coast events because Bridget McPhail is from the East Coast. I believe she lives in Halifax. in October and November. 3 events total. They went 1-9 in those events, which doesn't lead you with a lot of confidence, but the team does have experience. The front end has played in the Scotties before with Laurie Eddy, back when Laurie was playing out of Nunavut with these players. So they've been there a lot. They know what they're doing, but as we've seen in the past, you're not going to expect too much from Team Nunavut, other than, you kind of hope as a fan that they scare some people and have some good close games. If they sneak 1 or 2 out, great.
Yeah, exactly. And Sadie is kind of the next gen of Nunavut curling. So we'll see her getting some experience and hopefully, like you say, giving some teams a bit of a scare.
So there you have it. Those are the 18 teams that are heading to Kamloops to play in the 2023 Scotties Tournament of Hearts. It all kicks off Friday night, which is the 17th of February.
That's right, 17th.
All right. And it all wraps up on February 26th. Yes, math in my head. Great. So 9-day event there. The final will be the Sunday along with the semifinal, and all the playoffs will be set by Friday. So different from the bubble, which is nice. But again, I'm not thrilled with this extended page system, but this should be a really fun week. As I said off the top, my favorite event of the year, which means, Scott, time for our picks, our foolish event picks that we do all the time for reasons that I'm still not sure about why we do them, but we do, I guess, just because we like making ourselves look foolish. So do you want to go first?
Yeah. So what are we going to pick exactly?
Let's just do playoffs. 4 playoff teams and a winner.
Okay. So if we do 4 playoff teams and a winner, give me Canada, wildcard 2, Manitoba, and Ontario.
So you got Manitoba, Canada, wildcard 2, and Ontario.
Yeah. And Sean, I said earlier in the broadcast, earlier in the pod, that I'd be dumb if I picked against Carrie Anderson. So I'm going to heed my own advice and pick Carrie Anderson to get that 4th title in a row.
Okay. But you also said you weren't going to pick against Kristen McCarville, and she's nowhere to be seen in your picks. So I'm taking her. I have faith.
She's written down on this paper here, but I had to cut it off. So
okay. So I have faith. I'm going to pick Kristen McCarville to win. She finally does it. She gets over the hump. She crosses the finish line. She achieves the achievable dream and becomes the Scotties champion. And I will take wildcard 1, Canada and Ontario, to round out my playoff pool there at the Scotties this week. So
Sean, I picked wildcard 2. Is that Caitlin Law's team?
No.
Oh, that's the one I wanted to pick.
Sorry. Nope. Sorry, Kate. It's you said wildcard 2.
No, I meant
the card says moops.
No, wildcard 1. Hold on.
All right. I guess we'll allow it. Copying my pick, sure.
Yeah. Well, it's on Curling Zone. It just says wildcard. It doesn't give me numbers. So,
if only we had previewed what each team was,
then you
would have known. Yeah. Too bad.
Yeah.
Too bad. So there you have it. Those are our picks for the week. Do not gamble based on those picks, please. We will take no responsibility for that. That's just who we're going to keep our eyes on for the week. And again, my favorite event of the year. This is going to be fun. Hopefully you're all looking forward to it as well. And if you want to follow along with our thoughts over the course of the week, you can subscribe here on the channel, wherever it is you get your podcasts, likes, rates, comments, all that stuff helps us grow. It helps other people find the show. You can also follow on social media at Game of Stones Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Game of Stones Podcast on Facebook. You can head over to gameofstonespod.com and let us know what you want to hear on the show, Game of Stones Podcast at gmail.com. But we are not finished yet because we have our Scotties Tournament of Hearts giveaway that Scott teased a couple weeks ago. Scott, what do we have for the people?
That's right, Sean. Turn on the cameras. Let's go. Let's show this. What we've got is a contest that we're going to run over on our Instagram page. And we're giving away this nice, lovely print of a painting of Elsa Craig, which is the island in Scotland where curling stones come from.
Yeah.
So this is produced by a Scottish artist that's a part of my family named Daniel Martin. And we're going to give all the instructions as to how you can win this lovely print over on our Instagram page. It's just going to involve saving the post, sharing the post, and also following both us and Daniel on Instagram. He's got beautiful, beautiful paintings up there. If you like skyscapes and you like nature, his paintings are absolutely incredible. I've even got one in my living room.
That is true. I have seen it with my own eyes, and met Daniel last year. Good guy. Didn't meet him or spend as much time with him as I potentially would have, barring a COVID type situation. But nice guy. Everyone speaks very highly of him, and yeah, his artwork is really nice. So do check it out. We will post the image over on the Instagram, and it'll be on the Facebook and the Twitter page as well. But to participate, it has to be through the Instagram account. And as Scott says, all the instructions will be there. We will do it over the course of the weekend. And at some point before the championship pool starts, we will pick a winner, and we will cover the cost of getting that print to you.
Yes, we will.
So do have your eyes on the lookout for that. We are very excited about this print. We may or may not have another similar type of event for the Briar. Who's to say?
Yes, who's to say?
Yeah, nobody can really predict the future. So we are looking forward to all the things going on. Very busy time of year for us, and we know for you as well. So we appreciate you taking the time to listen to us this week, and we hope you'll join us again next week. But until then, keep those brooms on the ice and don't dump that intern.
Make the final.